How governments really work, the hidden systems behind power. Level B1, Intermediate. When people think about governments, they often imagine presidents, prime ministers, parliaments, and elections. These are the visible parts of power. We see them on the news, during speeches, debates, and ceremonies. However, the way governments really work is often much quieter and more complex. Behind official titles and public decisions, there are hidden systems that shape how power is used every day. Governments are not just groups of leaders making decisions. They are large machines made of rules, institutions, habits, and people who rarely appear in headlines. Laws do not enforce themselves, and policies do not exist only on paper. They are carried out by thousands of officials, advisors, experts, and administrators who influence outcomes through routine actions rather than dramatic moments. One of the most important hidden systems is bureaucracy. Bureaucracy sounds boring, but it is one of the strongest forces in government. It includes ministries, departments, agencies, and offices that manage everything from taxes and healthcare to education and transportation. While elected leaders may change every few years, bureaucratic systems often stay the same for decades. This gives them stability, but also power. Decisions are shaped not only by what leaders want, but by what institutions are able or willing to do. Another key element is law, not as an idea, but as a living structure. Laws create limits on power, but they also create opportunities. Who writes the laws, how they are interpreted, and how strictly they are enforced can change their real meaning. Courts, judges, and legal experts quietly shape political reality by deciding how rules apply in real situations. In many cases, these decisions matter more than speeches made in public. Money also plays a central role in how governments function. Running a state is expensive, and every decision has a financial side. Budgets show what governments truly value. Even when leaders promise big changes, those promises depend on funding. The way money moves through a system, through taxes, public spending, contracts, and subsidies, often reveals more than official words. Power follows resources, and resources follow rules designed by those already inside the system. Information is another hidden source of power. Governments rely on data, reports, and expert knowledge to make decisions, but information is never neutral. What is measured, what is ignored, and how facts are presented can guide policy in specific directions. Advisors and experts may not vote, but their influence can be strong. The way problems are defined often decides which solutions are possible. Public opinion also matters, but not always in obvious ways. People often believe that governments simply follow what voters want. In reality, public opinion is shaped by media, language, and timing. Governments respond not only to what people think, but to what they believe people think. This creates feedback loops, where perception becomes as important as reality. Managing public expectations becomes part of governing itself. Power is also distributed unevenly inside governments. Not all positions are equal, even if they sound important. Some roles control information, others control timing, and some control access to decision makers. Being close to power can be as influential as holding power. This is why informal networks, personal trust, and experience matter so much in political systems. These relationships are rarely written down, but they guide many outcomes. Crises reveal how governments truly work. During emergencies, normal rules may be paused, and decision-making becomes faster and more centralized. This shows which systems are flexible and which are fragile. It also shows who really holds authority when speed matters more than procedure. After crises end, some temporary measures remain, slowly becoming part of the normal system. Understanding how governments really work does not mean becoming cynical. It means seeing power as a process, not a performance. Behind every law, policy, or public announcement, there is a structure that shapes what is possible. When we look beyond leaders and elections, we begin to see the deeper systems that guide political life. In the next part, we will explore how influence moves through these systems, why power often resists change, and how citizens can understand their role inside structures that feel distant but affect everyday life. To understand how governments really work, it is important to look beyond official roles and focus on influence. Influence does not always come from authority. Often, it comes from position, experience, and access. People who control information, schedules, and procedures can shape decisions without ever appearing in public. A single advisor who understands the system well may guide outcomes more effectively than a leader who is new to the role. Change inside governments is slow, not because people are lazy, but because systems are designed to avoid sudden movement. Stability is one of the main goals of government. Rules, checks, and procedures exist to prevent chaos. While this protects societies from rapid collapse, it also makes reform difficult. New ideas must pass through layers of approval, interpretation, and adjustment before they become reality. Each step reduces risk, but also reduces speed. Power also protects itself. Institutions develop habits over time, and these habits become invisible. When something has always been done this way, questioning it can feel dangerous. People inside the system often prefer familiar problems to uncertain solutions. This does not mean they are corrupt or evil. It means they are human. They respond to incentives, pressure, and fear in the same way everyone else does. Media plays a powerful role in shaping how governments operate. Leaders do not govern only through laws. They govern through narratives. What is emphasized, repeated, or ignored affects which issues receive attention. Sometimes, political energy is spent managing stories rather than solving problems. When public attention moves quickly, governments learn to respond with symbols instead of structural change. This can create the feeling that politics is active, while real systems remain untouched. Citizens often feel distant from power because these systems are complex and slow. Voting is important, but it is only one form of participation. Understanding how institutions work helps people set realistic expectations. Governments rarely change direction overnight. Pressure builds gradually through social movements, legal challenges, economic shifts, and cultural change. Small actions repeated over time often matter more than dramatic moments. Transparency is frequently discussed as a solution to hidden power, but transparency alone is not enough. Information must be understandable and meaningful. When systems are too complex, people may see the data, but still feel powerless. This is why education and media literacy matter. Knowing how decisions are made allows citizens to recognize when something is delayed for technical reasons and when it is delayed for political ones. Trust is another fragile element of government. When people believe systems are fair, they are more willing to accept slow processes and imperfect outcomes. When trust is broken, even reasonable decisions can feel illegitimate. Governments spend significant effort maintaining trust, sometimes through real reform and sometimes through communication. The difference between the two becomes clear over time. Despite their limits, governments are not static. They evolve slowly as societies change. Technology, economic pressure, and cultural values push institutions to adapt. While the hidden systems behind power can feel distant, they respond to long-term pressure. Understanding this helps reduce frustration and replace it with patience and strategic thinking. In the end, governments work less like machines that can be turned on and off, and more like ecosystems. They are shaped by rules, people, history, and expectations. Power moves through channels that are often invisible, but not impossible to understand. When citizens learn how these systems function, they gain something important: the ability to engage with power realistically, not emotionally. This understanding does not guarantee control, but it offers clarity, and clarity is the first step toward meaningful influence.